setting it up. Okay, there we are.
Okay, so I'm gonna have to get, I'm gonna friend request you, so.
Okay.
So how do you know Omar Jones?
Omar Jones. Who is that? I don't know. I probably know him some. I don't know.
Okay.
I guess so.
I know him well. I went to college with him.
Oh, really?
Uh-huh.
And he's on my Facebook page. I have to see his face. He probably, you know what? He probably goes to my church.
Oh, okay.
I wouldn't doubt that. Okay, I'm trying to get the friend. The friend request. What is it? Okay. Okay, you call me. We're in the middle of the thing. I can't answer the phone. Okay, I'll share it. Let me see. I don't know why I can't see all this on this computer right now. But let's move on. Okay, I'll have to okay, let's see. All this you got to do to get started. Let's see if I can tag it. Okay, I'll have to tag it, I guess. Let me get that off of there. Public. Yeah. Okay, so we'll go on and I'll have to fix that. I'll work that out on my phone. Okay, I am ready.
Okay.
So good morning, good evening, everyone. So we are here one more time for our 180 Impact Moments, and we have the pleasure of having Darline McElroy, and she is a counselor, she is an author, she's a mother, she's a wife, she's all of these wonderful things, and so she's going to be talking to us today about us surviving through trauma, or she may have some other things that she want to talk about. But one of the things I asked her to talk about was us how we're surviving through trauma during this pandemic. And of course, we know that a lot of people have been suffering in various ways during the pandemic. Because first of all, it's been the first time that some of us have been in these enclosed areas for such a long time. We've been in the house with family. We've been in the house that we're not used to doing all that. We're used to getting up in the morning. The kids go to school. The husband go to work. The wife go to work. But everybody's been in enclosed doors. And so we're going to talk a little bit about that and how you continue to navigate through that, even though it seems like we're getting to the end of the thing, hopefully, but still we have had to deal with all of that. You have people, alcoholism is on the rise, suicides have been on the rise, domestic violence has been on the rise, weight gain has been on the rise. So all of these things have been going on since we've been in the pandemic. And even myself, I thought I was more of an extrovert, but I'm finding that I've been kind of introvert, extrovert person. So I think I got a little more introvert in me than I thought I had. So anyway, so we have all of these things going on, and we've had all of these, things going on. And we've really been through a very tumultuous year when we think about it. When we think about the pandemic hitting, nobody knew, some of us, this is our first time ever been in this. Of course, we knew we had the measles, we had the mumps, we had the chicken pox, we had things like that, but we wasn't around when there was smallpox and things like that. So we really don't know. You know, even AIDS came out, it was an epidemic, but and even though it's been an epidemic and it's probably killed more people than, well, I don't know if it's killed more at this point because we probably have surpassed that, but still it wasn't the same thing as, you know, anybody could get it. You had to be involved in things to get that particular disease. And so there's just been a whole lot going on. So people have been really fearful, and then some people don't want to do what it takes to help help the medical community not have to be overwhelmed, because, you know, they won't stay still, or they won't, you know, they won't try to put their mask on and things like that. So, and of course here in Texas, we have our governor has said, oh no, we don't have to wear masks at all. But I've been so proud of Texas, especially in my area, because they all have kept their mask on. So I'm so thankful for that. So anyway, Darlene, I'm going to turn it over to you and let you begin to talk, because I'm a mouth runner. I can do that well. And so I want you to just be a part of it. If any of the other people that are on would like to, come out of the shadows and into the light, please do.
Well, Denise, thank you for having me on today. You mentioned about the trauma, and you also named several traumas that we're all familiar with. It's just that for years, we didn't put a name to it. We didn't put a name to domestic violence being trauma. We didn't put a name to just bad epidemics or AIDS or things of that nature being trauma. So we gave it like names like we got a problem or we have an issue. And we didn't realize the impact that these situations had on us. So when you talk about winning through the pandemic, winning against trauma in the pandemic, one of the things that we have to realize is that many of us have gone through so much to even get to the day where we are today. And so when you want to win against something, some of the things you want to do is to assess where you are. Look where you are. What strengths do you have? You didn't get this far just by willy-nilly. You know, you got this far because you were resilient. You overcame some things. So when you're talking about trauma, some of the examples that you've already given, yes, they're definitely trauma, and definitely the pandemic is weighing a lot on our emotions. But you also mentioned earlier that we were so used to ripping and running and going and moving, you know, and making things in life happen. And I think that for a sense of us, we kind of lost control, lost sight of what was important. So if we want to use this pandemic to our benefit, we can. Now, of course, we are very sympathetic and empathetic with those who have lost loved ones. This is not our goal in any situation. But if we're going to look at winning, then we want to look at what it is that we are winning against, or what we're striving for. So during this pandemic, one of the things that we have to realize that we cannot control everything. And I think that that's the main struggle, is that when we look at our lifestyles, we're so accustomed to controlling our schedules, controlling our time, controlling when we go somewhere, how we go there. And even though it's, you know, it may have taken a toll on us to do these things, we felt like we were in control. So when we get to this pandemic, now it's like, okay, there's no control. And then we're pushing against the control that needs to be there. So the government steps in and say, okay, we're going to shut things down. And we go into an uproar because we're not accustomed to that. We're not accustomed to people saying, you can't go to this place or you can't do these things. So we first must assess where we are. And then once you assess it, we are in a pandemic. We cannot control that. So release it. Once you accept it, then you accept it. So we accept this is where we are, but we don't have to be here always. So since you assess it, you accept it, and now we're going to plan for it. What can we do in this time that will be beneficial for when the pandemic is over? Many of us have lost just our basics. I mean, if we look at the number of Americans who don't get enough sleep, who don't get enough rest, who don't spend time exercising. So all of these things we have been saying, well, I don't have time for. So now you have the time. You have the time to slow down and to make room for yourself and to make room for those goals. I remember, I think it was before they announced, well, last year, before they announced the pandemic in March. I don't know what was going on that day. I was, well, a couple of weeks, I was so exhausted. I mean, just exhausted. And I told one of my good friends, I said, I just need about 3 or 4 months just to be off and get some things done. Now, I wasn't completely off, but our schools did close down. I was a school counselor at that time. Our schools closed down, so I was at home. Now, yes, we were working, but I would have the luxury of not having to, get up super early to get prepared for work and then run to work. So when we look back and we assess things, is it such a bad thing that we have to slow down? Some of us haven't even faced the trauma in our lives because we're always on the go, always ripping, always running. And I think some of this time has forced us to reflect on things that have happened. And maybe some of us are trying to run from it so that we don't have to face it. But in this time, if we just slow down, assess where you are, realize you cannot control it, accept where you are, and then plan for where you want to be, we can make good use of this time and focus on how you have overcome before. This is not your run, this is not your first race. You have been here before. Some of you have had more struggles than this pandemic has ever brought on that you have not shared with people. And that's fine. But take the same skill sets that you used to get through some of those storms in your life and you apply them to this time as well.
I think that is that's just what we have to do. That makes so much, I mean, hearing it from you makes so much sense, because I know myself, I haven't been sleeping good. I haven't been, and I'm thinking, what what is going on? I'm at home, I'm working from home, I'm doing all these things, but yet I feel like I'm eating all the time, or I'm not sleeping at night. I'm waking up at 10:30 at night, and then I'm up the rest of the night, and then I got to go to work in the morning and stay up all that time. And so all of these things going on, and I can't get my sleep pattern back on track. I'm thinking, what in the world is going on?
Well, Denise, I've seen that in many of my clients as well, especially our children, our teens. Now, if we're honest, many of the adults, we haven't had a schedule anyway. We were going to work, but we still stayed up late. And so now we're staying up later because we feel like, well, I don't have to get in my car and physically go to work, so I can actually sleep a little bit later. So now our habits are kicking in even at a worse level. So what we have to do is to get back on schedule. We know from research, we know that there are basic needs that must be met. Sleep is one of them. And in order to get that, you're going to have to put yourself back on your routine and your schedule. When you don't get the adequate amount of sleep, you are going to eat more just to try to get those carbs to stay awake or out of boredom. So when I counsel clients, one of the questions I ask first do you have a routine? What is your schedule? How many hours of sleep do you get a night? When I have parents coming in, say, well, my child won't act right. Who will act right off 3 or 4 hours of sleep? Nobody. So we have to get back to the basics, go back to the very basics. Use this time to train yourself in ways that that's beneficial for you. Getting in that exercise, and some of us, we're looking at the goal of losing weight, but just getting in a walk to help calm the body, to help ease the stress, get the blood flow going back the correct way, so that we can rest better at night. But if we're out of routine, we're eating whatever we want to eat, and I'm weak on that area myself. But you got to recognize where you are in order to get where you want to go. So you assess, you see, okay, here's where I am. I have 3 different cups of ice cream in my house. I know I'm going to eat them all. Take them out. Have one that you don't really, really like. Then you won't eat that much of it, So you plan for your habits, you plan for the obstacles so that you can benefit during this time and it won't be such a burden later. Then you'll come out better on the other side.
Because I know for even like for myself, I said, well, I gotta get my exercise in, and you know, all I gotta do is go outside and see some dogs or something, and then I'm saying, well, I'm not gonna do it. I'm not going out there. And I just happened to be, I went to the store, right, and I was coming down, I was coming back to my house, and was a lady walking her little dog. All of a sudden, here come two German shepherds out of nowhere, and I'm like, oh my god, and she was so afraid. So I stopped my car and I just started blowing the horn to hope for they would go away, you know. And so she was able, then I turned my car around so she could get on the other side of me and walk back down the street to her place and to keep the dogs from bothering her. So then that was like, oh no, I'm not going out there and walk at all. I'm not going out there and walking out. So I said, well, I got to do something. So I bought me a treadmill and I bought me a bike, bought me a little stepper and a glass. Okay, but then you still got to get on them.
Okay, well, let me tell you what a good strategy to use, and you may want to write this down, put it all over your house on a sticky note. Action precedes motivation. Okay, so sometimes we're waiting to be motivated, but you gotta stop, but you gotta act first, then the motivation comes. For me, if I begin to exercise and to walk and to put in the work, well, I don't want to undo that work with a bunch of bad food, you know? So we have to get into the habit. Once we get out of the habit, it is very, very difficult. I'm not as avid as I used to be with exercise. I'm trying to get back to that level. And then also pair up with somebody. And I always tell my own kids, YouTube is your friend. YouTube has everything you want on there. So if you don't want to go outside, there's walk away the pounds. There's all kind of exercise, things there that you can do. So we don't have to limit ourselves to just being outside, and we have to take away, be honest with us. Again, assess who you are, assess where you are, and then plan for the obstacles. So we know if we don't really like to exercise, so then you go ahead and you do it in the morning and you get it out of the way, or you do it during your lunchtime, but plan for those obstacles and know that it's going to make you better.
Yeah, because I'm a morning person, and so my energy level is really good in the morning. Now in the evening, but in the morning, I got all the energy. I can get a lot done in the morning. So that's why I tend to exercise early in the morning, because if I'm going to do it, then I got to do it then, because at night, and then too, you keep telling yourself that, then that's just the way it is too. So I tell myself, I said, well, you got to stop saying that as well, because if you do a little bit of something at night, then it might help you even sleep better or something like that, or you might burn some calories.
But no, it really will help you sleep, but it helps your mental health overall. When clients come in, we give them assessments, and a lot of the questions are geared around your activity, your connections with people, your social connectedness. So those are important elements of our mental health. If we don't be connected with people, which I think some of this, the pandemic has slowed down, but there's ways to connect. You can use the telephone to call people. We can go back and get real old school and start writing letters. Maybe that'll help our penmanship back,
Yeah, that's true.
and help us to be able to express our feelings and emotions. So there are things that we can do to stay safe as well as stay connected.
Does anybody else on the line have anything they want to ask or anything like that? Please feel free to be a part. Everybody's on mute. So then, okay, for the children, what are some of the things that you all tell the children during this time, especially those that the parents are like, no, I'm not sending them to school. I'm gonna keep them home. I'm gonna homeschool them, or I want them to do virtual. What are some of the things that you tell them to keep them motivated and from like freaking out?
Well, I would tell the parents for children who are virtuals. I have one that's also virtual, and he'll probably be virtual next year as well. I tell them the same thing as those who are going face to face. Stay connected to your children. One of the main problems that I see with adolescents is that they come in to talk to me and they'll say, my family doesn't talk to me, or one of the parents never say anything to me. We don't do anything. So of course, you keep them on schedule. They should have a bed schedule, and you train them to get up. This is a perfect time to train children to do what you may have missed out, earlier. Have an
Mhm.
alarm clock, teach them to get up on their own. I mean, you're there, you're in the house. If they don't do it, you're able to still train them. Keep them on a bed schedule, keep them on a routine. They still need breakfast. They still need these things in place. But most importantly, stay connected to them. Play board games. If you don't have money for board games, you can look on, again, Google minute games. You can use plastic cups. You can use body, you do whatever to stay connected. Now, with older children, of course, they're going to fight back and say, well, I don't want to watch a movie, or I want to be in my room. Or you're the parent. So you dedicate a night or 2 nights a week where you're going to do some things, and it's not an option. So the most important thing right now, because we're seeing a high level of children, adolescents who are depressed, who are not attending school because they're not able to make the adjustment. But if we don't step in as parents and begin to train them, because as we all know, that life is constantly changing. You
Mhm.
must always make adjustments. So if we don't begin to teach our children to make these adjustments, then what's going to happen when they get older, they're going to constantly break down and not have the skill sets they need. This is pandemic is out of our control. But what's not out of our control is would be our homes, and how to get that family time back connected, how to interact with one another, because we have more time than we've ever had now for family dinners. Even if that's a hot dog and chips on the side, I mean, it's not the best thing for you, but hey, as long as you're sitting down and coming back and reconnecting. So I think it's very important. But we don't have to let our children fall by the wayside. All we have to do is do the basic things that our families have always done for us. Spend some time reading with them.
Mhm.
Spend some time asking them critical questions. What do you want to do in 5 years from now? What are some things that you like? Many of us don't even know our child's favorite color because we've lost focus. And
Contact.
so in this pandemic, we can win. We can win as families. We can win as couples. We can win as parents.
It's just, if we just would have taken advantage of this time, look how much we could have accomplished, that, or we could have that could have been undone, that we didn't do before. You know what I'm saying? We could have this time. And even, and what would you say to and Thomas, do you have anything you want to add? You on mute. I got to unmute you. Unmute yourself.
But while we're waiting, I'm going
Okay.
to also suggest that
Oh, here
we
it is.
get back to reading with our children, reading to them, reading with them. Just doing some things that's going to engage their mind. Don't allow them just to say, "Well, I don't want to read," or "I don't want to sit down with you," or "I don't want to go to school." If you have to work, I know my mother worked, and she
Mhm.
had to work sometimes different shifts. She would call the house and she would say, I want to, and she had 6 children. I want to speak to every child in that house.
Oh, wow.
If you say, well, mama, she's using the bathroom, I'm going to wait on her, because she wanted to make sure that you were doing what she asked. And if
Yeah.
you did not do what she asked, there were consequences. So we have to let our children know that we're going to parent even through tough times and not put that responsibility on anyone else.
That's amazing. And that is what has had to happen too. The parents are finding out that even the teachers, when they used to call them, no, he was cutting up, because he's cutting up right here now. And so, they know now that it's different than what, they was always, well, the teacher's just saying this, the teacher said, no, the teacher wasn't saying that. That was what was happening.
Well, exactly, exactly. I mean, and I was an educator. I worked in the schools as well, and my hats go off to all educators during this time. It is it's a struggle, but to be honest with you, it has always been a struggle. The headlines are saying that our kids are falling behind. Well, that's a news flash. Our kids have been behind. So we need to look at why they're falling behind just one year. The truth is they've been behind for years. You have children in 7th, 8th, 9th grade that cannot read. And so as a parent, you want to say, okay, let me hear you read to make sure that you're learning what you're supposed to be learning. Some people believe that, well, I'm not my child's teacher. I don't get paid to teach. You are the first teacher.
Exactly.
Whether you accept it or not. The bottom line is that you're always teaching. You're teaching by the way you lead in your home, by example. When I get clients that come in and they say, well, my child is doing this, they're slamming doors, they're throwing things down. My first question is who's giving the example? Because we learn behaviors from our environment. Exactly. And when I began to break it down to my parents, they would go, oh, you know, we don't realize how much they learn. So you are the first teacher. You don't have to do drill and kill. Simply read a book. Have the child read back to you. Do some of the basic math. Many kids are struggling with just the basic addition, subtraction, division, and multiplication. Do the basics. Do a game. Make it fun. But give them some help when you can give it to them. They're going to get older, and they're not going to want you to help or do what you haven't been doing as a parent.
Exactly. Oh my. I mean, this is it's really an opportunity. So that's why I said we have to take advantage of the time that we are in right now. No, we can't control what's going on outside, but what's going on inside, we can build a better relationship with your family. You can begin, when we were coming up, we had dinner around the table. Everybody was sitting at the table eating, everybody ate together, things like that. So you can start those types of things and invoke those family conversations that usually you wouldn't have because you didn't have time. But right now you do have time to have those types of conversations. Okay, what was your day like? What happened today? You can do that. Or what is troubling you? You can find those things out, so then it's not so many silent, painful situations going on, because now you know what's been going on, and then you can kind of handle things differently. That's what I mean. I think it's a time to take advantage. For those that are single at home by themselves, learn how to pray more, get to God more, if that's what you can do. Learn how to even discover yourself. Know who you are. Like I said, I found out I'm more of an introvert, extrovert than I am just an extrovert. You think you're this person, but now I found out, I'm all right being over here.
Right. And if you are single, then connect with some other singles. Do a reading club, a book club. Do something that that you're on Zoom, or just call some old friends that you haven't connected with in a long time. There are things that you can do still. Evaluate where you are and where you want to be. Look at your own resources, your strengths. Plan a business, plan a goal. So that when the opportunity comes, you have it ready.
You have it ready. Thomas, you have anything you want to?
Well, it was just interesting, and I appreciate everything that's being said right now. But what was really interesting to me when she was talking about the children, I think that like you guys were saying, we've lost those moments where we can not only impact our children's life, but kind of find out what their goals. Watch them more closely to see what their passions are in life. Because I remember as a young adult coming up, I never really had any direction as far as employment is concerned, because I had no one to steer me in the direction of my passion. And that's the reason we have a lot of kids that go out on these deadbeat jobs every day, and they don't keep a job. Because I remember that, the people back in the church, or back in the old day in the church, they watched me and kind of directed me into my interests as far as employment is concerned. Like, I just have a passion for the social service industry. And after I got out of school, I learned, I had someone that told me, this is where you need to go to school. This is where you need to get your education, because this seems like this is something that is an interest to you in your life. Another thing that I learned in this pandemic was my failing in my walk with God. Biblically, so it says, that a man that's planted by the tree of living water, this man meditates on the word of God day and night. I've always had this conversation with God, because we done got into this state where we're just busy all the time. But now this pandemic got me to a place where now I can pray to God and then turn around and meditate and listen to what God is saying, because I've gotten more direction in this pandemic as far as my life, where I'm going, as far as business is concerned, as far as my spiritual walk with God. I'm listening more. Before we came into this pandemic, you jump up, put your clothes on, say a few words of prayer in the car, and you off to the races, and it just caused me to get a closer walk with the Lord. And it's just really interesting. A lot of stuff. Y'all see some good stuff.
Well, Thomas, I thank you for ushering in the conversation about the Lord, because that's my language right there now. So I didn't know if y'all wanted me to come from the LPC side or from the preaching side, from the Bible side, but that's my language there. I think what you said is very important, is that we have to, realize that God is ultimately in control. And I don't know how the pandemic got here. I don't know all of the ins and outs medically, but what I do know is that he is in control. Yes. And so if he says pandemic be released, let it be, it has to be. If he says it's over, then it's over. But until he says it's over, then we might as well accept what he has allowed. So I know some people say, well, it came out of China, it came out of here, it came from this, and it's doing this, and it's turning around. Whatever may it be, I do know that God is in control. And so if he is in control, then we submit our will to him. Lord, what do you want from me at this time? I can't go to the store as frequently as I went to, but maybe I can go to Amazon. Now, maybe I realize that I'm overspending so much, because now I see Amazon truck coming 2 and 3 times a day. So maybe that's light that's coming in, showing me where to clean up my darkness. I know one of the churches, I think it's Concord, they're doing a series on money management. And I think that maybe the pandemic has shown us a lot about that we are doing certain things in a certain way that have not been working for us at all. Like I said, I know I've seen the Amazon truck in my house more than often, too many times. And I was showing my daughter this morning, I said, I have got to cut this food bill out every other day, groceries, and we have plenty, but sometimes you don't realize your habits until you're forced to look at them. And I think that if we want to win, because your topic is winning during the pandemic, we take the opportunity to look at all the gaps in our lives, look at what we have been doing, what is not working, and we accept the fact that God is in control. So Lord, since you're in control, then teach me to meditate on you more. A part of our problem with the pandemic is that we can't control it. And we have idolized our ability to control some things, not realizing that we have no control. So we're idolizing that I can't wear a mask, or I can wear a mask, and I want this school to open, I want this business to open. You don't have that kind of control nor power. And since you don't, let us all just stop fighting about it and do what we can do. What we can do is get in that word of God and see what God wants us to do. What we can do is sit with our families and become more acquainted with them, reconnect with them, set some standards, set some goals, some values. Almost every team that I counsel, they are always saying, no one talks to me. Almost every team, no one talks to me. Some of the parents I talk to and I say, implement some board games, implement some family time. And they're going to the kids are going to say, I don't want to do it. That's a child who wants to do anything the parent says to do. Most of us don't want to do what God tells us to do.
Exactly.
We learn to be obedient. We learn to appreciate God. We learn to appreciate his presence. So while your child is fighting against doing what you know is best, what I tell parents that you don't argue with the kid. The end of the day is your word. So if I say, let's come down and watch this movie together, you're going to watch this movie. But I don't want to come. But I told you last week that Friday nights is movie night. At 8 o'clock, we're all down here eating popcorn or whatever, and we're going to watch a movie. They will not always want to do it. Mine didn't. But what I tell you later in life, they will appreciate it. And they'll come back to you and they'll have relationships with you that you didn't really believe that you could have at that time. Another thing that is going on during this pandemic, there is a high rate of abuse, because I think that we are stressed because we want to control this and we can't control it. Taking advantage of it. I also have a lot of the children telling me things about parents, calling them names, parents cussing them. So if you want some better time with your family, why don't parents go and get some counseling? Deal with your own issues so that the children can be a little bit better than how our generations may have been impacted. Mental health is very important, and it starts in the home. How we treat them, how we respect them, how we love them, how we care for them, how we protect them. And I think we'll see a better turnaround with our children as far as the schools, school involvement. We have put too much on the schools right now, way too much on the schools. We cannot demand that the schools be mama, daddy, the nurse, the doctor. We got too much on the schools right now. They're overburdened. We need to pull back and face reality. Let's make sure that we do more than put our child on Instagram looking cute. Let's do more than put our child on Facebook, say we're making memories. Let's do more than take our child to church and they go one way, we go another way, then we all meet back up and we're on our phones and we're back at home doing the same old thing. Let's do more. Let's step up as a people and realize the call that God has given to parents.
Yes.
If somebody had a question? Okay, I'll stop preaching.
It's in the chat.
Oh, it's in the chat. Hold on.
It's in the chat.
Okay, it says, what can we do to help an 11-year-old that appears to be happy and does well in school overcome suicidal thoughts? Okay, that's a very good question. You want to first, if you've already been asking questions and talking to the child, and you're not getting answers, I would go ahead and seek a counselor for the child, because sometimes children don't want to share with the parent because they know the parent is going to be either hurt or upset or overreact. Whereas a professional counselor, for one, they hear a lot to not really be surprised. And so they'll know how to ask the right questions, how to get to the bottom of it. Sometimes children are faced with, a lot of children right now are faced with anxiety. They're afraid of catching COVID or getting COVID, and they're afraid of dying. So that fear is becoming very overwhelming for them. And the suicide could be coming from, well, I might die from COVID, so let me just go ahead on and just take care of myself in that way. So I would seek professional counseling, especially if you have already spoken with the child, or if there's a heightened sense of fear there. A lot of times children have been abused and we don't know they've been abused. Abuse goes on in schools, they go on in different, places, relatives, so we don't always know because children don't always feel comfortable telling us. You may have a very good relationship with your child, but they're also trying to protect you as a parent because they love you as a parent. So they may not be willing to share that, not knowing how you're going to react, or they assume that you're going to react in a way that's either going to make them feel bad or put judgment on them or make them feel that they have to protect you. So I would definitely seek counseling.
And then sometimes the parents make the children feel like they're liars or that they're not telling the truth when they do try to tell them something, and so then that pushes the child back into a place of silence.
Correct. Many
And so,
children, now, unfortunately, many children, they have lied to the parents. But when I tell people when they come in to see me, they say, well, she just lies so much, or he just lies so much. Let's look at why they're lying. Why do people lie? You know, and I just,
fear.
now that's one area of I've always been very cautious about. I don't really punish, but I didn't punish mine for lying, because I felt like that lying comes from a fear. So let's look at what you're afraid of and let's deal with that. And to be honest, most of us, many of us, we don't realize that we teach our children to lie all the time. They're in the car with us. We're running late for work. We call our boss. We say, hey, we're in a bunch of traffic, knowing that you're at the donut shop. So them all the time certain behaviors, but then we turn around and we punish them for what we have taught them. So we want to be very careful when we address children, and that we treat them like you want to be treated. If you don't want to be yelled at, be cussed at, be called names, or be called a liar, then don't do that to them. Train them the way you want them to go. Train them the way you want them to go. They're children. They're going to make mistakes just like we all have. They're gonna lie. I mean, we're born into iniquity. You're gonna come here lying. You know how to lie. You know how to cuss before anybody tells you to cuss. You know these things.
That's so true.
So it happens, but you want to train, not necessarily always beating them and cussing them and hitting them, and go to your room, talk to them, explain to them why it's wrong or how you want to help them. But don't just throw them away because oh, you think he's a liar or she's a liar. They're not going to lie about everything. And if they are lying, first assess where they get the lying from, and then why are they lying? Why are they scared to tell you the truth?
Yeah, because if you think about little bitty kids, and say you told them not to go in the cookie jar, and then here they are with crumbs all around their mouth, crumbs all everywhere, and they say, I didn't get a cookie. Okay, but the evidence is there, so they're getting that. They already, that's like you said, they already know how to do these things. And so then what about what about the child that has suffered trauma, like the young man up in Plano, that they made him drink urine. And so what does the parent need to do, because that is trauma past even what the age he is now. If they don't deal with that, he's going to be traumatic about that even later on in life.
Yes, that a lot of us don't talk about it, but that's one of the things that I did discuss in my book, that there's a lot of things going on in education. I was a target from my bosses. I reported what I believe that I saw between a child and a principal to CPS. And from there was, no protection for me. But for some reason, we don't want to address the bullying that goes on in school. We have all of these bullying campaigns, but our teachers are being bullied. So when you talk about the child in Plano, the thing is that he's going to definitely need counseling, as will the mother. I believe the mother should receive counseling because she can be better equipped to help him. His picture is on media. It's going to be circulating around. Once you get on media, it never leaves. So it's always there. We don't know the direct details of what happened, but what we do know that it was abuse. We do know that. From what we read, from what the mother has shared, that she went to the school officials. Honestly, I can believe it. I went to school officials. I went to the superintendent. I went to the school's attorney. I went to EEOC. I went to OCR. I went to TEA and had the documentation. I mean, literally a bookload of it. Had everything they needed. I had the district's attorney that wrote a letter that said, you have enough evidence for your claim of racism against one of the people, which I had enough for all of them, really. But then EEOC never did even look at the information at all. So when we're talking about children being bullied, I cannot imagine a child nor a parent having to navigate these school systems when children are being bullied. It is such a tight system. The adults are afraid to report because they are afraid to be retaliated against. I would never have imagined that calling CPS to protect the child would have landed me in the situation I was in. I would have never imagined.
And
Never.
you know, and that's what your book is about. I ate the cake. That's what it's about, isn't it?
Yes, it was, I had experienced a bunch of racism in this particular school district from the moment that I stepped into it. And maybe 1 year out of the 9 that I was there, I didn't have the racism, but it was just, and that in itself is traumatic. I still, I'm a Christian woman, I'm an LPC, and I still have to fight the thoughts that I have going into different situations. Racial trauma is very real.
It is.
So when we look at that, that's why I'm saying I can't imagine that child in Plano having to deal with any of this, because as an adult, I'm constantly having to check myself. Am I seeing what's real? Is this real? Is it really happening to me? As a matter of fact, when I was writing the book, one of the young ladies who knew I had gone through all of what I'd gone through in the first school, I called her because she was also reading some of the information as I was writing. And I said, I don't want to publish anything that's incorrect, because my goal is not to hurt anyone. My goal is to enlighten, for us to come together, not as Black, not as white or Hispanic, us to come together as a people and say that no one deserves to be mistreated. So I called her one day because I was just having some fear about publishing it. And I said, just tell me the truth. Tell me the truth. Did I really experience this? Or am I seeing too much in this? She says, no, everything you wrote is what you experience. So the thing is that when trauma comes, it comes in different forms and it comes through different people. And the only way to get out of that is to stay rooted in Christ. And I have to realize that not every white person means me harm. Now, when things happen, it's going to filter through all of my experiences. But then I have to pull back and say, okay, did she really mean it this way, or did he really mean it that way? Not every white person is out to get you. And not every Black person is out to rob you. We don't live in that kind of world, thank God. So, but trauma impacts the mind, and it makes you wonder, and not really, sometimes you don't see reality. So when we talk about the school systems and helping our children, we have got to get the schools to be honest, to be transparent. Stop hiding people that are hurting other people. The person, the people that did what they did to me, they got promotions, they got protected. I was the one that ended up resigning at the end, because I knew that I just couldn't go back. That it was done, it was a wrap. And I was trying to hold on to it, because at the time I resigned, I did not have a job. But I'm like, okay, I can't do this anymore. I just can't do it. So, but when it comes to our children and the bullying in schools, we're gonna have to demand that they are more transparent and get people out of the building who have no problems with abusing children.
Yes.
So we have a question here. So what are some signs that parents should look for to determine if the child needs counseling? Okay, to prevent a sad outcome. Okay, if your child is withdrawn, if they do not want to engage at all with their friends, with you as a family, if they stop doing some of their favorite activities, say if your child loves to play PlayStation or loves to ride their bike, or they love to read, and all of a sudden these things just stop. If they're giving away things like personal items, if they're crying, sometimes they're crying and you don't know they're crying, but if you see that they have that look, then you want to talk with them. So crying spells also, when they're very scared to leave you or scared to be around someone else, you want to also be aware of that.
Now I have another question, because a lot of times a lot of children are made to be, especially our young men. Let's just talk about the young men. A lot of young men are in single parent households, and so a lot of times they're having to help financially, so they have to get jobs and they have to do all this stuff. Because I remember talking to a young man. He was in my I was a sub at the time, and he was cussing. I said, I know you're not cussing in front of me. I said, do you cuss your mom? He said, yeah, because I had to pay them bills. I thought, oh my God. And so I thought, oh my God. So how can parents stop, making their children grow up faster than what they should? Because, I think about even my own upbringing, how my sister, she was like 14 years older than I was. And so she had to be almost like a parent, when my parents were at work or whatever. So she was given that responsibility. And I think sometimes that's caused, that has fueled some of her anger over the years. Then my brother, after my father died, my brother was kind of made the man of the house. And so how does it, and then of course me at 18, I became a caretaker. And so how do parents, what instructions can we give parents to try to help not to make their children grow up too soon, so they can have their child and their teenage experiences, and then navigate through life to adulthood versus becoming an adult at 14?
Well, we have to create balance for them. And I'm going to ask Ms. Green to get ready to speak. She's in a unique situation herself, having to raise her children as a single parent. So I hope she can join us on this conversation. But I know that from growing up, my family, we weren't rich. We did have a 2-parent household. We recognize, my parents, they bought what they could. And if you couldn't have something, you just couldn't have it. So we have to go back to some of those basics, that maybe you just can't have some of the things that you want. Now, unfortunately, we do live in a society where people are not getting adequate pay. And so the child may have to assist in some of the bringing in the income. But I do think that we need to reassess, how much are we spending? What are we buying? Why are we buying it? Do you actually need 2-3 cars, things of that nature? If the child chooses to work, I chose to work in high school, and I did well. But I didn't have, my money was for me. It wasn't for my family. So that's a little different. And in that, I didn't have to work, all during the school day or during every night. So we have to put back, prioritize what's important for the family, what's important for the child. If a child has to work at 16, then we can't just give a blanket statement, because some families really are struggling trying to make those ends meet.
Exactly.
But I would suggest that you reassess what is what's necessary and what's not, and try to chip away at things that you don't have to purchase. If the child is contributing, you're still the parent. You're the parent. So parent, and let the child still be a child. Maybe not work as many hours. Like I have told parents, your child's working 20 hours a week or 30 hours a week. That's too much, and they're in school, because schools have changed. The workload is very much different than how my workload in high school was for us as homework. So we have to be very conscious. And if children are, say, I've also had children who were on Zoom and parents say, get off Zoom. I need you to come clean the kitchen. Respect education, respect the position of the teacher, respect the time. If your child's class is from 8 to 9 or 8 to 5, 8 to 3, respect that as time for school. So some of our children are not attending school virtually because you're right. They're taking care of children. They're going to work. They're doing things that are not going to benefit them in the long run. And then as a parent, you say, well, I need the money. Okay, well, let's think this way. Since your child is not in school and they're working and giving you $20, $30 a week, okay, when they get 18, because they're not going to school, they're not going to graduate. They're not going to finish. So what do you want for that child in the long term? It's with any goal with us. We have to sacrifice in the now to get the goal in the future. So let's not put our children in such a authoritative role or put them in an adult role, babysitting when they should, they can't babysit all day when they have school or have a child in their lap when they're trying to attend school. So we have to be realistic about what you can and can't do. And since the schools are open, then send them back to school. I mean, send them back to school if you're going to make them miss class all day or they're not going to participate. We have to be the parent at all times. And Miss Green is here. She probably gives some more insight.
Thank you for joining us.
Thank you for having me. Okay.
Well, first of all, hold on. I'm sorry. Let me just share with you. She has two wonderful children who I also claim. And her oldest son right now is at Morehouse in Atlanta. And she has a daughter in high school and they're doing fabulous.
Praise God.
Thank the Lord.
I absolutely agree with my sister, Darlene. Honestly, I got this tip from her. She just told me, just allow them to be children. My son is a go-getter. He wanted to work early on before he graduated from high school. My daughter is the same way. However, Darlene gave me a little nugget. You have all your life to work. Once you start working, it won't stop. So I encouraged my son. I know, and I let him know all the time, I appreciate you for wanting to be responsible and work and earn your way. But son, right now, focus on school. That was his focus. That I just let him know, hey, once you do well at school, the jobs will come. And so now, as she said, he is a freshman at Morehouse. My daughter is a sophomore in high school, and I am allowing them to be children.
That's amazing.
God,
I have a question for you, Miss Green.
Yes, ma'am.
Because we're talking about finances of single parents and sometimes children needing to contribute. So how have you managed, given that you were a single parent raising your own children?
Woo. I watched the hand of God. I am so serious. My testimony is I was going through the process of becoming a certified teacher. And when I began the process, it was prayer and supplication that got me through, honestly. It was God taking the 2 fish and 5 loaves and multiplying it. I made enough. I don't see how, but God saw how. So, and with that being said, now that I've gotten through the process and I am a certified teacher, I still watch God work. We haven't gone without. We haven't lacked anything. And you watch, I don't want to sound churchy, but it is what it is. You handle God's business, God will continue to handle your business.
He sure will.
I honestly, I can just say that everything, every need has been supplied. Again, my son is in college. I didn't pay for anything. He's there. And he's in Atlanta. My daughter, she dances at her high school. The needs have been supplied. We have not gone without anything. So once you just continue to commit yourself to God, He will honor everything that you've prayed for, everything that you've asked. And it's just because He loves us so much. It's nothing that I've done to earn it. He just loves us so much.
Yeah.
He loves us so much. I just wrote down, I said the God factor. It makes a difference.
It does.
Amen.
God
Amen.
God in your life makes a difference. I told somebody I've got a permanent job that where I got to go through all the the stuff to get get the backgrounds and all that, but I haven't had a permanent job since 2015. And something my brother said to me that was interesting. He said, I don't know how I wouldn't have been able to do that. I wouldn't have made it. I don't know how you make it. Oh, I said it was the God. It was God, because I can't say nothing else but that it's been God. Thomas knows my story. I'm telling you, the other lady on the line, Rita knows. They know the story. And I was substitute teacher, so y'all know that's not no. And so I'm telling you, but I don't know how. But all I know is God did it, and that's all I can say. I got to give him the glory. I got to give it to him, because he's been amazing. He's an amazing guy. I'm telling you, you got God in your life, you can get through some stuff. I don't know how people do it without him.
I don't know either. I don't know either. I really don't. And the thing is that we have to just, again, realize that we can't have everything at one time. Exactly. And some of us, we're putting material things. Well, we think our kids need a bigger house or, more things. And what they really need is us. They need us to come back to who we used to be those parents, somebody that's caring for them. And I'm gonna put this plug in, taking them to church. Go with your child to church.
Yes.
I know it's not going, church is not the end all, because really what the church really should be, it starts in your home first. You can start that at home first. You be a loving, kind person at home. And then you build up the church when you take your healthy self there, and then you build that up. But we, you don't just dump them off in churches, because you don't know, I tell people all the time, you have, the church is made for the sick people. Okay. So if it's made for the sick people, you're going to have some sick people in there. So don't just dump your kids off on a bunch of sick people. Go with them, know who's there, know who they're interacting with. I am just as cautious with my children in church as I am anywhere else, because I understand what the church is made of. And I, not to put down the church, I'm not putting down the church, but the truth is that we come to Christ because we need Christ because of our own infirmities, our own illness, our own sicknesses. And some of that is, a mental thing, and we are caught in these traps of cycles of abuse. So since I know that we're caught in cycles of abuse, then when I take my child to church, I'm going with my child. I want to know who Sister James is, what she's teaching. Exactly. And make sure that my child is behaving accordingly. But we got to get back to some of the basics, and that's, being parents, being child's first teachers, interacting with our children on a daily basis. You can ask just simple questions. What was the best part of your day? What was the worst part of your day? Because, maybe that question, that more than likely that one question is going to start something where, they'll trigger their memory of something that may have happened. But if we just get in the car and everybody's, not doing nothing, but, just kind of to themselves, then we won't know what's going on. But a simple question as to what was the best part of your day can trigger things that you would not have ever known. Because a lot of these children are going through so much than we will ever know. Times have definitely changed in these schools. You got children who are preying on children. You got adults who are preying on children. So they are constantly in a battle trying to protect themselves. And so when they come home, they need to come home to people who love them, who care, who are connecting with them, who are building them up, saying kind things to them, even when they're wrong. You don't have to go off and cuss them out. They're learning. They're still learning. So even when they're wrong, if you got to put yourself as a parent in timeout, then you go to timeout until you calm down, and then you come back and you have a conversation. Sometimes kids are just upset because what has happened at school and they can't verbalize it. Too many of our kids don't know how to express, I'm angry because, or my feelings are hurt because. They don't know how to express that. And now we have the parents cussing the kids cussing the parent. So yes, when they get to school, they're going to cuss the teachers, especially if they don't have a respect, or the teacher doesn't earn their respect for them. But there's a way as a teacher to get the respect. I've had respect from kids who did not respect their parents, because there's a way to get it. But we got to realize that it's not a battle. We're not battling against our children. We're working with them, training them to be what they can be.
That is good.
I want to interject something right quick. We have got to get back. I don't know what God is going to have to do to bring us back to the extended family and the it takes a more, I mean, it takes a village to raise a child. You know, Denise, I just ended up in a situation, you know, my brother died last year, his son moved here with me, and just overnight after talking to his mom, she died. And so now I have a 9-year-old living here with me and my nephew, both here in the house. He's 36 and I got his daughter living here. And I have to get back to that paying attention part, because if you watch closely, you'll figure out what's going on. You know, if what you won't figure out on your own, God will show it to you. So, for instance, my niece, she was playing with the little dog, and she was having the dog really rough, and taking her head and pushing it down in the plate. And I walked into this type of activity, and I'm trying to figure out to myself what's going on. I was like, why is she treating this dog like this? And I was thinking she hadn't been abused because she was living with her grandmother. And I went in the room one day and I walked up on her, and I seen her looking at all these violent videos on the phone where the characters were blowing up each other and children was handling each other rough on it. So we took the video game away from her, put parental control on it, and then we start seeing that activity subside slowly but surely. And then we put her in an after school program where she could do things to be active other than being shut up in a room with the phone, looking at video games all day long. I found other activities for her to do to combat that. You know what she had, it was like it had become an obsession. You know, she would even ride in the car. I had to stop her in the car, just look. I mean, that's the act she always defaulted to. So it goes back to being, you know, having to watch kids and watch them closely and pay attention. Like Denise was talking about the kid in the cookie jar. I caught, you know, different times you know, she can't help but leave a trail. You know, she go and get stuff. And I told her, I said, look, whatever's in this house that is here to eat, that's what we bought it here for. It's available to you. You do not have to run off in the bathroom and close the door and try to eat the cookies. You don't have to take the donuts in the front part of the house. It's available. In other words, I was saying, you don't have to hide to eat food. It's available to you. You don't have to sneak away. The food is here and it's for you to eat. So I seen them action kind of side. So I'm becoming I don't know whether it's a co-parent or a grandparent or whatever I'm becoming. But it just happened overnight. But I know that I have to, you know, I keep her most of the time while her dad is at work. So you have to pay close attention to children in order to, you know, and then another thing I realized, you know, she had some separation anxiety going on. She had been with her grandmother and her grandmother passed away. Been with her for 8 years and she passed away suddenly. So anyway, we working through this. We seeing a drastic change. You know, that was like there was you know, she had this behavior where, you know, she would not even speak. She wouldn't say anything and just come into a room full of people and, you know, they go, are you gonna speak today? And she'd sit there and wouldn't say anything. Now with her being in that after school program and me working with her, she's conversating with people. When people call on the phone, she's saying hello before I say hello. So, you know, you just have to kind of watch kids. One kind of inject.
Right. Yeah, I mean, you brought up a good point. When we have to be careful what they're listening to and what this really will impact their behavior, how they feel. Many people don't think that it is true, but what you listen to changes your mood. What you watch give you images of things that you normally see. So we want to be careful about what they're watching, what they're the video games they're playing. It's okay to connect with people, but if they're going to play online, know who they're playing with. If it's somebody you don't know, then they should not be playing with them. Many children do not realize, even some of my teens that I see, they really believe that people online are their friends. So they're making these false friendships that feels real, And then they're disconnecting from people on the outside because these people are pulling them in. So we have to be careful that they're not in these chat rooms. I mean, you know, I know some people say, well, kids have privacy. I'm just so sorry. I'm not that parent. Anything that I purchase is mine. And I have the right to look at. So there's no privacy in that regard. I want to make sure that I know who you're talking to, especially at a certain age, what you're watching on YouTube and put on those parental controls, because you want them to first, because their minds are developing. Their minds are going to develop up until the age 23, 24. So you want to be very mindful of what they're getting involved in and who they're getting involved with. Because these children, no matter how many times we tell them that you don't know these people, yes, I do. They told me their names. And they really believe they know these people that they've never met before. So we got to really train them in this sensitive time of technology. It could be your friend or it can be your enemy. So make sure that they understand the consequences of that. You don't know these people. If you can't see them, you've never met them, you don't know them. I always told mine about, I don't even know people when they get in their own house. I don't know them. I know them when I see them and what they present to me, but how they are in their own house. So we have to still train and to teach them. And yes, they're going to get mad. Yes, they're going to get upset. They don't understand. I mean, think about your own life as an adult. We get upset when God doesn't give us our way. Understand. Then as we get older or we have more experiences, we say, oh, thank you, God, I didn't get that job, or thank you, I didn't marry that person, because now we have a better insight. So we have to understand they're not going to agree with you. They don't understand. They're going to disagree. They're going to get upset. It's okay. It's okay for a child to get upset. Just let them cool off. Teach them how to have some downtime. Okay, you go into your room until you feel better, and you come back out, we'll have a conversation, or, it's over, so.
I mean, we've been having an amazing time, but I do have one more question before we go, because I know I want to be respectful of time. What about the children that are dealing with grief? Because I know that's, there's been so many deaths and all of this kind of stuff. Because I know when I was a child and my father died when I was 12, my sister said to my brother and I, don't cry. We have to be strong for our mother. And so I didn't really release that grief probably until I'm talking about back maybe 2006, maybe. That's when I really felt a release, because I never got to deal with it as a child. So what can we do? What can parents do, or people do to help the children dealing with grief? They've lost their grandparents, they've lost an aunt, or uncle, or mother, or father, brother or sister, all of these things are going on, or even a friend. How can they be helped in that regard?
Well, I remember that when my brother died, I was trying to process my own grief, that I did not realize that my children were going through it as well. Until years later, I found it like this little notebook one of my older son had, and he had drawn. He was a little boy. He had drawn a picture, and he put Uncle Red, and he put a halo around his head and wings. And so it was up until that time, I said, oh my gosh, because they would say certain things, and because I didn't want them to hurt, or I didn't want them to feel a loss, I didn't talk about it. And this was before I was a counselor and knew the things that I know now. So what I would suggest that you talk about it, you let them express it. Now, at the same time, don't force them to talk about it, because no two people grieve alike. You may be more in a grief than they may, they may not have had that close connection, or they haven't processed it just yet. But you can talk about it. You open the door and say, when you're ready to talk about it, I'm here. You don't have to be strong for me. It's okay to cry, because many of us were told, don't cry, or I believe that you should cry. And then there are times when you should not cry, but we teach kids the difference. So of course, grief is one of those times you should cry. So you talk about it and you let them talk about it. You can, maybe have a special tribute where you write, notes to them, or you draw pictures about them, or you discuss your favorite memory of that person. If the child is beginning to be afraid, or just seems very stoic, and they should be kind of, coming around. If they're crying all the time, or, say, they're crying almost every night, or you're coming home from school, they break out and they're crying about it, then get professional counseling, but as a parent, if it's someone that's very close to you, again, get the assistance that you need, because there are a lot of companies out there, or there are a lot of ways to get counseling that you don't have to pay a whole lot of money for. There are different insurance benefits out there. So I would suggest that if you don't know what to do as a parent, or if the grief has overcome you, you get the help first, and then you'll know how to help your child. But if it's a close friend and you're not involved, but the child is involved, then I would sit down and talk with the child and let them know that whenever they want to discuss it, you're available. And you can also tell them, I'm willing to take you to counseling if you want counseling. Explain what counseling is, so that the child know that I can get assistance whenever I need.
Thank you so much. This has been amazing. I've been so excited. And everybody's input has been, I'm really trying to be respectful of time. I could go on, but anyway, I want to respect your time. And I'm so thankful for you coming on and just sharing with these in this impact moments is what we call them. That's what the Lord gave me. He said, call it impact moments. So hopefully this is being impactful to somebody's situation. And I'm just so thankful, Darlene, that you took the time to share with us all these things. Thank you, Ms. Green. I want to mess your first name up because I said, Lord, I knew I heard it. But anyway, I didn't want to do that. But I thank you for sharing that, because that is so important, for us to know. And so, because what you said was, I'm a single mother, but look what God did for me and my family, and how my children are not, they didn't become a statistic. He's gone to Morehouse College, one of the more prestigious male colleges in the country, especially a Black college. And I'm telling you, that's amazing. Daughter in dance, doing what she's passionate about. So you were able to capture those things. So this has been amazing. I'm telling you, I'm excited about it. Rita Timberlake, I thank you for your questions that you posed, and Thomas, I thank you for your participation and just all that was said. This has been so great, and I really hope people look at it. It's out there to share, and a lot of people look at things later, but it's fine. And I'm just so thankful that I'm just so I'm always thankful. I'm always excited about whatever God gives me to do, because I just get excited about it. But anyway, so I have been excited about this. This has been amazing, and thank you for sharing all that thing. Thank you for all the questions that were asked, because these are and even our seniors, we got to know how to help them as well. So we need to make sure that we got some good tools today to be able to help us along the journey, and to share this with somebody else. If you're out there listening and you heard somebody that has some of these situations going on, share this video. This has been amazing, and we got a lot of good questions answered, and we got a lot of good information, a lot of good tools to take away and to move forward. So thank you so much, Darlene, for your time, and go get her book, I Ate the Cake. You're gonna be go get that. Be a blessing to our author that is on the line, and go get her book. And Ms. Green, I thank you so much for you sharing and telling us about how God did it. I'm telling you, that God factor, y'all need it. You needed it. You need him in your life.
Amen.
Thomas, thank you for bringing it up. We need God in our life. I just don't even know how you make without him. I don't know. I couldn't. So I'm not even going to try. I'm going to keep right on going. Thank you so much, Darlene, because I know your husband
You're welcome.
is a pastor. If I'm not, he's a pastor, right? Your husband?
Yes, he's a pastor out at Forney. He's Mount Zion Forney.
Oh, yeah, out my way.
Yeah, he lives in Forney.
We're about in Forney.
We're about in Forney. It's right off of Broad Street. It's on Mesquite.
On Mesquite side.
Uh-huh.
I live in Heartland.
Yeah.
I live in Heartland. So I'm right there. What's the name of the church?
Mount Zion.
Okay,
Pastor Robert McElroy.
Got you.
Okay. And if you go on our church calendar, you can get the information for church service.
Okay. Thank you so much. I'm telling you, so there's someplace else you can go. You can log in, or you could, you find out how they're having service, and so be a part. I'm telling you, that's a blessing.
It's
so
virtual.
We got a lot of good stuff. They're virtual.
Virtual services right now.
Yeah, log right on in. You out there, and then when we open back up, if you're in that area, go right on over there.
That's right.
And
That's
get
right.
blessed. I'm telling you, get a blessing. So anyway, this has been an amazing conversation. And does anybody else have anything else they would like to say when we close it out? If not, thank you so much. This has been 180 Impact. This has been our Impact Moments. Go visit our website, 180impact.org. We're beginning, but we don't despise the days of small beginnings, because we know when you got a vision that God is giving you, it might be, it's bigger than it's bigger than who I am. I know that, so I'm depending on Him to take it. I think I talked to Tom today. I said I can see 180 Impact community centers all over the United States. That's what I see. So anyway, I believe God gonna honor it, and He gonna bless it, and He gonna fund it. He gonna do it all He gonna do, because this is something He told me to do. And so when God tells me to do something, I do my best to get it going. So anyway, He's an amazing guy. But thank you so much. And Darlene, give your website so they can visit your website as well.
It's Ellipses Counseling Services.org. Ellipsescounseling.org. So
you can go out there, and it's on the flyer too, because I did put it on the flyer. So look at the flyer if you need to know how to spell it. And so and go visit her website, purchase her book. And Ms. Green, what do you have? You looking like you got something over there.
I just have the love of God in my heart. That's it.
She's working on it. Working on it.
She's working on it. She's working on it. Thomas, you could tell us about the Adullam project.
The Adullam experience. We do Still Small Voice Facebook Live every Saturday morning at 8 a.m. I've been away on surgery. I should be getting back up and running again at the beginning of April. First Saturday in April, 8 a.m.
Okay. The Adullam experience.
Adullam experience.
Yes. So let me get
Still
that right.
Small Voice. God is not always in the thunder. Sometimes He come in a still small voice, and them still small voices is powerful.
They're powerful.
That's right.
So thank you all for participating today and being a part of Impact Moments. And I'm just so excited. So anyway, and this was recorded, so I will be able to send you the recording and all of those things. And so I'll get it out to you. So thank you so much, and have a great evening.
You too. Thank you for having me.
All right. Have a good night.
Thank you. Thank you for sharing. Bye-bye.